I realized that I would have to lay a lot of groundwork, and that video would deviate too far from the main subject. So I decided to make a separate video in order to lay that groundwork, and that's what this video is. For those of you who are MGTOW, or men going their own way, most of this will sound familiar, but I hope to be able to present some information in a fresh way, or at least expand on some concepts in a way that you may find helpful. Let's begin by stating a few foundational truths that will build on one another. First, we, human beings, are animals. We are mammals. And whether you're someone that believes in a God that created man and the animals, or someone that believes that we evolved from a succession of animals that became more complex over time, there is no dispute that we share many similarities with other animals. By examining the primitive habits and behaviors of animals, we can gain valuable insight into similar human habits and behaviors. Second, our brains, which are the primary thing that separates us from lesser animals, is wired in a way that allows our rational minds to be superseded by our more primitive instincts. There are 3 layers to the brain, each one built on top of the other, each one being more advanced than the other, and each one being less influential upon our decisions and behavior than the other. The smallest and most primitive part of the brain is called the lizard brain, because it is still present in lizards today. It controls bodily functions like your heart rate, breathing, balance, as well as survival and reproductive instincts. This part of our brain is connected directly to our brainstem, and the functions of it are automatic and almost completely out of our conscious control. The second part is the emotional center of the brain, known as the limbic system, also called the mammalian brain. This allows us to feel emotions, record memories, and judge experiences as good or bad. It also regulates the chemicals that cause pleasure and happiness. This is the part of your brain responsible for gut feelings that you can't rationally explain. The third and most advanced part is the neocortex, also called the primate or human brain. It is from this layer of the brain that we gain logic, reason, abstract thought, speaking, reading, writing, awareness, and conscious control of our motor functions. The third truth is that our instincts and emotions govern so much of our behavior that it's shocking. We rarely question why we want something. We just want it. And when we have it, it gives us pleasure or happiness. That's the limbic system manipulating you, and you don't realize it. And you don't fight it because they are your thoughts, aren't they? Your thoughts. The thoughts coming from the more primitive parts of your brain, the parts of your brain responsible for emotion, memory, reproduction, and even happiness, have made you a slave. They've led you and countless men before you to sacrifice yourself for nothing more than genetic reproduction. Some will tell you that feminism is the problem, that it's just a matter of unjust laws or communist conspiracies. They are wrong. The enemy that will betray you is your own biology. The male bowerbird builds an intricate nest to attract a female mate. The female, which only mates once a year, tours the bachelor pads of these would-be suitors, chooses the most impressive one, and rewards the male with sex and reproduction for his hard work. Another example of birds with similar simping behavior includes the male Eurasian jay, which gives gifts of food to the females as a way to earn the right to reproduce. Where did these behaviors come from? They didn't come from some bird feminist movement or social Marxists with beaks. They came from nature. Men are imprinted with an irrational desire to acquire resources, compete with one another, and sacrifice ourselves in order to attract a mate and perpetuate our genes through reproduction. Our lizard brain tells us we need to reproduce. Our limbic system says happiness when we fulfill this imperative. But that is not rational choice, but rather primitive biological impulse. These impulses helped our species to multiply and thrive, but not without a cost, especially to men, because we are not as valuable as women for the continuation of the species. Imagine if 90% of the men were killed tomorrow. The remaining 10% of surviving men would be able to easily and gloriously reproduce with the women, well, at least the attractive ones, to keep the species going. However, if 90% of women were killed tomorrow, that would be very bad for the human race. There would be a desperate war fought to determine which men were allowed to reproduce with the remaining women, and even if humanity endured, the world would be devastated beyond repair. This is why women are allowed to leave sinking ships and burning buildings first. It's not just an old-timey tradition harkening back to chivalry, it's a biological imperative to protect women, especially attractive ones. An attractive woman triggers a biological response in our lizard brain. We want to protect her. We want to impress her because we want to mate with her, even subconsciously. It doesn't matter if you're faithfully married or gay. You will feel the desire to protect and be friendly to attractive women. It's completely instinctual. You can't control it. Women can't control it either. Although men are ultimately sacrificed in service to the survival of the species, women are no less slaves to their lizard brains and limbic systems. In fact, their hormones make them less rational and more reliant on emotional thinking, in case you haven't noticed that before. A woman's biological imperative drives her to find a man that will provide her with resources and protection. In the animal world, pregnant and nursing mothers are vulnerable and require significantly more energy and food than they normally would, especially if they give birth to multiple offspring. If resources are abundant, they'll seek out the male with the strongest genes, the alpha male, and likely join a harem of females that will all be impregnated by the same male like an animal version of sister wives. I'm linking to a Davis Arini video called RK Selection Theory in Practice. If you want more information regarding how biological urges and environment shape female preferences and even drive feminism as a whole, the link is in the description. The fact is that males and females have different biological drives. Men are attracted to health and fertility, while women are attracted to resources and social status. This means that men and women experience love in completely different ways. Which brings me to the fourth truth I have to share with you and the reason for the title of this video. Women will never love men. At least not in the same way men love women. Notice that men are attracted to fertility primarily via visual cues, like youth and beauty, which are signs of good health and good genes. The common theme is that men are wired to be attracted to the woman herself. When a man loves a woman, he loves her directly, but that's not the case with women. Notice what women are attracted to, resources, primarily via social cues. In nature, male-animal competition ensures that resources go to the fittest males, and thus resources are an indicator of a desirable mate in primitive groups. Not only that, but again, the female needs more food during pregnancy and child-rearing. When you consider the biological reasoning behind it, it makes perfect sense. Here's the problem. Women aren't attracted to the man himself, but what he has and what services he can provide to her. In primates, if the alpha male is overthrown, the females will simply begin having sex with the new alpha male. They don't give a shit. A woman's love and loyalty will disappear if the man is providing fewer resources than she can get somewhere else. Women don't say it like that. They have little euphemistic phrases like, I need a man that can take care of me, or he needs to support me, or something along those lines. She's basically admitting that she's a long-term whore. She loves you as long as you're providing for her, but God forbid you become sick, unemployed, or disabled and can no longer work. They may still love you in their own way, but at best, it's the same kind of love someone might have for their car. The car provides them a service, and if it's a luxury car, perhaps social and emotional benefits like status, pride, and even happiness. This is the extent of the love a woman is capable of having for men. They'll love you until your usefulness has run out. Let's say you understand all this, but you really want to have children. Well, all I can say is to go into it with your eyes wide open and think of it like a business relationship, because women understand marriage and family as a business relationship. Understand what you're getting into and what you're trading for it. Ask yourself if this is a rational and logical decision, or if you're being controlled by your more primitive instincts and impulses. I'm linking to a video from Sandman called Emotional Baggage MGTOW. In this video, Sandman talks a bit about his father, who had 2 serious relationships, including being married before meeting his mother. After his first marriage fell apart because the woman didn't want kids, he met and married Sandman's mother in order to use her, his words not mine, to have kids. Sandman notes that his father hardly smiles in pictures, is incapable of loving his mother like he did the women before, and this allows him to easily stand his ground with her and not be manipulated. You might think that their relationship is highly dysfunctional, but according to Sandman, they're still together after 40 years. Link in the description. Now, I don't know Sandman's father, but it seems he had the right idea when it comes to relationships. They are little more than business contracts, but the primitive parts of our male brain urge us to make terrible deals in this arena, which is ironic because men tend to be much better businessmen outside of sexual relationships. Men are willing to put everything on the line in order to have sexual access to an attractive young female. But if you rationally evaluate this, the reward is minute in relation to the cost, but it doesn't matter. The lizard brain has taken over. Reproduce, says the lizard brain. It will make you happy, says the limbic system. Meanwhile, half of marriages end in divorce, and men are often destroyed and commit suicide. I'm linking to a video from CyberSaint called Men's Suicidal Life, link in the description. Men, it's time to stop thinking with your dick and to stop being a slave to your primitive reproductive urges and personally evolve. If you understand and agree with everything I've said, it's still incredibly hard to overcome your primitive instincts. In the book and movie adaptation of Frank Herbert's Dune, Paul Atreides meets the Gom Jabbar to have his humanity tested. He is forced to put his hand in a box appropriately called the pain box that causes him to experience the pain of his skin blistering and burning off of his bones. If he pulls his hand out of the box as per his instincts, he will be killed by a poison needle held to his neck. In order to prove his humanity, he must resist his instincts and endure the pain. After he passes the test, he removes his hand, and there was no physical damage. It was all in his mind. Resisting and ultimately transcending your biological urges requires extreme discipline. While someone on a diet may resist the urge to overeat, the reproductive urge is stronger than that of survival. Animals, including humans, will literally kill themselves to reproduce. It's that strong. Thankfully, there are ways you can make this easier on yourself by satiating your urges in other ways. Women offer men essentially three things: sex, companionship, and children. If you want these things but want to limit your risks, here are some tips. Sex is easy to find, but although casual sex is far less risky than marriage, it's not risk-free. You can still catch a disease or get a girl pregnant. It is safer if you simply turn to porn and get the poison out yourself. Now, anyone will tell you that porn doesn't feel the same, but technology is changing that. We have realistically feeling sex toys and virtual reality porn. In Japan, they're making robots that can simulate sex. There's a lot of demand for this technology, and although society may attempt to shame men who choose this path, when you consider the divorce and suicide rates, who's the real loser? What about companionship? Well, again, you have several options. The first is technology again. Japan isn't just the home of sex robots and hentai porn, but they also have an entire industry built on dating and relationship simulation games. I'm linking to a Gaijin Goomba video about this called Game Exchange, Dating Sims and Synthetic Relationships. This video details the aging population in Japan, as well as cultural and societal trends that have led to a MGTOW phenomenon in Japan called the herbivorous man, and how men are choosing fictional video game characters over marriage. Gaijin Goomba has a very negative view on these developments, but MGTOW should naturally have a different perspective. Link in the description. If you want companionship without requiring technology, just get a dog. A dog is called man's best friend for a reason. A dog will be loyal and loving to you to the bitter end without any of the baggage or bullshit that women bring. If you just want someone to come home to that will smile and be happy to see you, and that will give you love and affection without manipulation, get a dog. Women figured this shit out years ago. Women become crazy cat ladies because they want children but can't have them for one reason or another, and thus they fill that companionship void with animals. If you're not a pet person, then look for other MGTOW and form a close circle of friends. Humans are social animals and men need companionship. The last thing is children. If you want children bad enough, you can do what Sandman's father did and make a business decision with your eyes wide open. But understand that you're walking into a minefield. A better option would be surrogacy, or to become an anonymous sperm donor if you simply want to propagate your genes. Studies have shown that a mother and a father provide the best environment for children, and although it's difficult to achieve this as a MGTOW, it's not impossible. You can hire the surrogate mother or a different woman to help you raise the child while they're young. You can also have a daughter first and wait until she's a little older to have a son so that the son will enjoy the nurturing of his older sister, similar to that of a mother. Just be careful about laws that might be used against you, such as common law marriage, wherein you can be legally declared married by the state because you have a woman living in your house. The state can also simply throw out any contracts you have with a surrogate mother, give custody of your children to her, and make you pay child support. Courts are known to void legal contracts, such as prenuptial agreements, in order to favor women, so it might be safer simply to have no contact with the biological surrogate mother, simply to protect yourself. You really have to ask yourself if you're willing to take these kinds of risks, even in a controlled way, simply to create smaller versions of yourself. Well, that's the end of this video. I hope you found it helpful in some way. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. My next video will be out sometime later this week. See you then.